This is Game Set Match Kentucky, episode 45, recorded Saturday, January 25th, 2025. We're at Kentucky Tennis Weekend in Louisville. Hey everybody, it's time for another episode of Game Set Match Kentucky, where we talk about all things related to the Central Kentucky Tennis Series and probably a whole lot more that you never asked for. And I am here with my co-host Chad Young. Hello, Chad.
Hello, Chris. And what a wonderful way to start the day as an American tennis fan, huh?
It was freakishly early to have to get up, and I think you stayed out later than I did, and I still, I really struggled this morning and did most of my setup with no coffee, but now we're ready to roll. We've got a little bit of time left until the awards that we are going to MC once again. How crazy were they to ask us back to do it again? You got to wonder who else they went through before they said, well, those guys did it before. We'll just get them
just marked
back
off people they were interested in. They're like, well, we could ask the guys that did it last year to do it again. They might say yes.
And they may regret it again this time. We'll see. I don't know. But
I mean, we didn't get booed off of stage like Djokovic.
Hey, at least we didn't get booed like that. But, yes, we are at Kentucky Tennis Weekend in Louisville at the Hyatt Regency. And same place this event was held last year. And if you are not familiar with Kentucky Tennis Weekend, there are meetings, there are committees, board meetings, committee meetings, there are workshops for community development and junior programs and leagues, and it all happens in a very short period of time, like a day and a half, something like that. The Hall of Fame banquet was last night. There were 3 inductees there, and today is the awards luncheon. Again, which we will MC. I'm very nervous about that once again.
Really?
I am nervous. Yes, I just feel unprepared this time. I did read through everything, but I don't know. I'm worried about our jokes, but we'll do our best. They'll be funny to us.
Yeah.
And so. Anyway,
I'm sure most comedians would say that's all that matters. If you find your own jokes funny. You didn't get my reference, though. Did you wake up early and watch any of the Australian Open final?
No, I did not. Go ahead and spoil that for me.
You didn't? You don't even know?
No, I don't know.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Madison Keys won the Australian Open.
Okay.
Early this morning. So, yeah, I had some fun with some tennis friends last night. Woke up this morning and turned on the TV and watched another American win a Grand Slam title. I thought it was a
very cool,
inspiring way to start the day.
That's why I didn't get your reference. I apologize. And it's still. I'm still waking up. It's 9:30 Central Time, 10:30 here Eastern Time in Louisville. Sorry, so that went completely over my head, but that won't be the last thing that goes over my head today.
But this weekend is a great.
It is.
It's very. It's invigorating. I think when you're around other people in the state that are passionate about tennis, like we both are, it just kind of gives you a little bit of jolt of energy to, let's do a podcast every month this year. let's not run into those, those weeks where we're like, can you do it this day?
Yep.
But no, I mean, our high school season starts in less than a month.
So I'm not going to see you for months.
Yeah. So
I know how that's going to go.
This is I guess as calm a time as there is.
You're going to you'll sneak it in at work though, right?
What?
Listeners, don't tell anybody. Our recordings.
No, I'll be off the clock. But
just when he's off the clock, like during lunch hour or something like that. We'll do that. Definitely not while you are technically working.
No, on the government dime. But no, it's just a great weekend. We've got some exciting guests we're going to talk to today, and some of them have had important roles yesterday and some today, and so we're kind of the we're the cherry on top. We're the very last thing of this weekend with the awards celebration coming up this afternoon.
So here's who we're going to be speaking to on today's episode. We're going to talk to John Herring. He's the USTA Southern Board Treasurer. We're going to speak with Matt Olson, the USTA Southern COO and Executive Director. We're also going to talk to our friend Mike Eden, who's the president of the Racquet Foundation currently. And speaking of presidents, R.C. Scheinler, the USTA Kentucky Board President, will also join us this morning. Busy morning. I'm going to have to change my shirt. I'm already sweating from running up and down the stairs and unpacking equipment.
Well, we've got a little time before the award show for you to get your body temperature down. But anyway, it's a fun weekend. It's here at the Hyatt Regency downtown, and there were committee meetings yesterday, and we talked a lot about the CKTS tour, and we talked about some of the other tournaments that are going to be offered at the adult level, but certainly there's a lot of junior tournaments, so it's going to be a great year, and this is kind of the way to kick things off.
So we've got a good lineup of guests this morning, and we'll get into that in just a second. But first, Chad is going to tell you about our sponsor, Vision Cabinet Source.
Vision Cabinet Source is a kitchen and bath cabinet supplier that ships all over the United States and has for over a decade. Whether you're building a new home or renovating a room in your home, Vision Cabinet Source can provide you with classic cabinet styles that are well built and affordable. You'll also find they go above and beyond to provide service that exceeds expectations, from answering your initial questions to ensuring that you're happy with the final delivered product. Every Vision cabinet is built upon their promise to deliver well-constructed cabinets made from solid hardwoods, classic versatile designs that complement your style, affordable options that fit your budget, on-time delivery with shipment within 24 hours, and accessible personal service you can count on. They have many different painted and stained lines of cabinets that are stocked at their warehouse in Campbellsville. In making these beautiful cabinets, they have a 17-step finishing process that assures top-quality craftsmanship. Go online and look at their styles and designs for yourself, and you'll agree that they do great work at an affordable price. Check them out on their website at visioncabinet.com, or you can call them at 270-465-3222. Tell them you heard about Vision Cabinet Source right here on Game Set Match Kentucky.
We're pleased to be joined now by John Herring. John's from Lexington, and if you have been around tennis in Kentucky for any number of years, you know the name John Herring. He's a 2012 inductee of the Kentucky Tennis Hall of Fame. He's currently on the USTA Southern Board as treasurer, and this past weekend he received a very great honor at Southern Tennis Weekend. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, John?
So, very much to my surprise, I received the Jacobs Bowl, which is the one of the highest volunteer honors for Southern. There's a couple of awards they give at their Hall of Fame banquet, and they don't share the names unless they've got to get the people there. Otherwise, I was in town, obviously, with my board commitments, and so, but very much of a surprise. A lot of great folks. I was looking back through the list afterwards, and the two Kentucky Southern presidents, Judy Miller and Don Varga, both won the award, and then Mary Lou Hambrick, who I was actually inducted into the Hall of Fame with in 2012. So that was kind of cool that Mary Lou was there.
You're a former USTA board member, you're a former USTA board president, and so you've served the USTA, whether at the state or sectional level. What have you? What's most memorable, I guess, for you and what you've seen as Kentucky has grown over the years?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think it's maybe not one individual thing, but just kind of the entirety of what Kentucky's doing now. The facilities that we've helped to build, the people that we brought into the game, and the opportunities that we're providing now, and it's just exciting to see the growth of tennis and the growth of opportunities that we're providing as an organization now that didn't exist before, and that's both at the Southern and the state levels. There's we're in a really good place right now as far as resources. I think both levels, and the opportunities that exist in working with the UST organizations, Southern, National, and State, are just continue to improve. And I think the national organizations' focus on players, coaches, and facilities are really going to drive some continued growth. You've heard some at this meeting about the goal of getting to 35 million tennis players by 2035, and I think national has a good focus there, especially as it regards facilities and a lot of facility money getting out to people. And so I think the opportunities and the growth I've seen.
Speaking of Hall of Fame, Chris mentioned you're a past inductee, and last night had to be a special event for you because you got to see one of your players, Michael Cunningham, get inducted to the Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah, fun night, and a long night. We celebrated into the wee hours, so that's always fun. But yeah, sure, it's cool, and to be a part of that was special.
Yeah, I mean, and I know with the other inductees too, it's a little bit of almost a family or a class reunion where you have former players come back to offer support. So that had to be neat, and it has to be neat just to see somebody that you coached, and Michael was talking about what he was like, and probably what you remember when he came onto campus at Georgetown as a 18, 19-year-old, and just to see what Michael's done at his alma mater and what he's done as a player
and we
in
had
his career.
You have a sense. I mean, if you can kind of, he obviously was very physically talented, but you have a sense if you can kind of, okay, can you fix this here? Can you get the thought process to be a different thing, and all that, and then he as he said, and we knew this was he's very durable. We felt like that he would, if he wanted to have a great career after college, that he would have that great career, because he obviously didn't get the exposure that he could have gotten. I think there were Division I's that should have recruited him and they missed on him, and we were the lucky recipient of that. And I was lucky enough to be able to develop him some, and then, and then he continued to develop in his adult time, which I was able to do the same thing, and so we had a lot of talks about that. When he was younger, that there's still these opportunities out there, and you can do all these things, and he's taken it beyond anything I imagine with all the international play and all that.
Yeah, going back to your role with Southern, I'm always interested when I hear, folks who serve on the board or serve on committees, and when we have people like Matt who come here from Southern to our tennis weekend, and they talk about how Kentucky is kind of different than some other states. Obviously, geographically, it's the northernmost of all the southern section, but talk about the reputation that Kentucky has among, Southern in terms of how we operate here in the state.
Yeah, and it's, and you talk about the northernmost state, and certainly I was calling out my Southern compatriots this weekend when they were complaining about their snow and Louisiana and all those other places. Yeah. But, the other piece to it that we can't help but talk about is just kind of small state, big state. And when you've got huge tennis populations like Georgia and North Carolina, it is a different look when you're talking about Kentucky. But we've had a great group of leaders come through, and that's not lost on anybody at Southern, as we when we're down there. And so, I think there is this kind of ongoing conversation that, we're we're small but we're strong, and we are, well thought of down there. To have, when Rainey and I were both on the board last term, to have 2 members from a small state like ours when there's only 11 members on a 9-state board, that's impressive, and it just gives a good feel for where we are in our relationship. And obviously everybody down there thinks highly of Jason, and his work. But I think the thing that we've really been able to do well is get a great group of volunteers down there, and we're getting volunteers from Kentucky that are playing major roles on Southern committees, and then also they're getting to national committees, which is a huge thing too, because you learn about different opportunities at both levels, and so we've got a much larger contingent of Kentucky people on national committees, and that's a huge deal.
And lastly, what we have heard about the people love watching the U.S. Open, but they may not realize how important the U.S. Open is to their local communities and tennis in the state, and how that trickles down. Just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, in particular, when you look at the funding model for kind of how the section associations, or 17 section associations, and then below them the districts or the states, because some sections don't do it by state, they have districts, and so what happens is there is a certain portion of the U.S. Open that then is funded down through the section and through to the states, and even from the Southern level, which we're one of the few organizations that does this, from the section to the localities, through our Community Growth and Participation Grant. And so there's that piece of funding, and that's a consistent level of funding. And so when COVID hit the U.S. Open, that was a big deal, because that level of funding was in jeopardy a little bit. But you have that funding, and then because the U.S. Open has gone amazingly well the past few years, USTA has provided kind of what they've called surplus bonuses, or bonuses to the section, which then our section then passed those along to the states, along with our own bonus for a couple of years. And so the U.S. Open it's very different from how a lot of other national governing bodies work, but the U.S. Open's a huge funding mechanism for tennis throughout the section and down to the localities, because of the opportunities that it provides. And so, like, for example, this year, one of the big things, and we talk about facilities, one of the things that the USTA board set aside was $10 million for their tennis venue services area, which is out there to help build facilities across the country. And so, again, that's one of the things we're coming back to this meeting, trying to say, listen, there's opportunities out there if you want to advocate for yourself at this point. This is a special time as far as the ability to get money and funding for facilities around the country. And so, it's a huge deal. It's very different from all of the other sports, but we're very blessed, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a part of USTA and be a part of the opportunities that existed to really grow tennis, around this area, and then as time has moved along throughout the South.
Well, John Herring, it's been great having you with us. It's good to see you again, and I want to invite you in advance to come back on with us sometime. Would you do that?
I'd be happy to do that.
I promise not to have it scheduled so early in the morning next time, especially after a late night.
I promise not to be out late next time.
No, you do you. You do you. Okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you all.
Okay, we're pleased to be joined now by Matt Olson. He's the USTA Southern Chief Operating Officer and Executive Director, and he is here from Atlanta, joining us this weekend for Kentucky Tennis Weekend. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
How was Southern Tennis Weekend last week?
It was big. I think over the course of the 4 days, we had maybe 450, unique people come through, and that's everything from the awards lunch to the Hall of Fame to, committee members, volunteer staff. So it was a really great weekend.
We had the pleasure of being there last year and had a really good time. We were only there for about 24 hours, right?
And I don't miss the double weekends. I mean,
that was hard.
I enjoyed
hard.
myself last year, but back-to-back weekends was a little tough.
Maybe when I'm retired.
Well, I remember y'all winning the award last year for the media excellence.
Thanks.
And I loved your energy and excitement over what you do. It really stood out. So
do you remember when Chad took all of my time
at
the podium? There's
That's
that
right.
iPad with the timer, and he turns it over to me with about 4 seconds left. No, they let me talk. They let me say what I wanted to say.
There's always one.
There is.
He had to be that guy, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's an exciting time for tennis. We've seen a lot of growth. Certainly saw a huge growth during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It's a real challenge to sustain that growth and talk about the USDA initiative to grow the game. This 35 million players, 35 million players by 2035, and how Southern and Kentucky will help achieve that goal.
Yeah. I think that this 35 million players by the year 2035, which would mean that the United States would be the number one tennis playing country in the world with 10% of the population playing tennis. So
that is ambitious then.
Yeah. First heard it. It's definitely a very ambitious goal, but I can gladly share that we've kind of started unpacking what that looks like, and it is obtainable. This is kind of coming from the USTA national office, worked with the sections and stakeholders to develop a community tennis strategy, which is the first. And so to kind of put that into action, they've identified 3 different pillars. So one is players, coaches, and courts. So players obviously is the 35 by 35, and that comes from the physical activity survey that's conducted for a number of sports year after year. And since COVID, we've just seen tremendous growth, as you mentioned. And 2024, we saw 25.7 million is the number of people that played tennis at least once. So that's 8% up from 23.
Wow.
And so when you start looking at that expected growth to 2035, it's really 3% compounded year after year. So we've already kind of jumped a little bit ahead of the curve with the 8%, and we saw great growth in Southern. And I haven't seen the Kentucky numbers yet, but I know that Kentucky, just overall with USTA, had a wonderful year in 24.
Kentucky's proud to be part of the Southern section. We're in an interesting geographic area. Some people, wonder why we're not a part of the Midwest or whatnot, because we're right on the border.
Yep.
But I mean, Southern is such a robust and such a huge force in tennis. What Southern does for states and the way that the money trickles down is just fantastic. But people probably don't realize how much bigger the Southern section is than the other states and the other sections.
Yeah, I mean, Southern is probably 26% of the USTA, but we try not to really focus on that. We want to be bigger, and I'm like, so does that mean we need to be 26% of that 35 million? Maybe. But no, Midwest is big enough. We want Kentucky,
Yep.
So we love Kentucky. And I have to just tell you that, the executive director, Jason Miller, I love working with him. I respect him so much and his staff, and it's a small state, but very progressive, innovative with a lot of what they're doing, and they're always willing to try new things, and when there are resources that come from National or Southern, they're always the first to raise their hand to try it. So I love it.
One of those initiatives is here in the room next to us, and I heard John mention it. And we participated in a red ball pilot program last year, and just talk about. I mean, that's another innovative, out of the box. How we can get players into tennis, and talk about what we're seeing so far, and what states and CTAs and facilities have done with red ball.
I think red ball is exciting. I think, as a tennis player, I always loved playing short court tennis. And I think let's just be honest, one of those mistakes the USTA made is when they launched 10 and under tennis with the red, orange, green ball back in 2008. Why didn't we do it for adults? And I think we really missed a lot of time that we weren't focusing on, beginner adults, older adults that maybe weren't able to play full court tennis anymore. But so red ball is an exciting initiative. USTA is putting $5 million into supporting pilots in the expansion of red ball, and Southern jumped on last year with a lot of with probably a high portion of the pilots, and really just kind of trying to see what works. And over they've surveyed close to 10,000 people that participate in the pilots, and we found that if there's a program associated with it where they play for at least 4 weeks, that I think the 85% or so want to continue. And then if it was just kind of a one-off, it was more like maybe 75%, which is still a impressive number. So just trying to see where it fits, and I think that this is a golden opportunity for us to put it into places that, like with pickleball. Okay, I had to go ahead and say it. I had to say it once.
It's too early for bad words.
But no, hey, I think competition is awesome. It makes us better, and
I agree.
And we can learn from them. And we need to see red ball at unexpected places, like in malls or different events, and like outside the movie theater or whatever, festivals. So just to it's such a great opportunity. But putting it into maybe intro to play, learn to play programs, there's a space there to really be that go-between before they start playing league tennis maybe. And some people may want to continue playing red ball forever. But also like social leagues, and I know that the USTA Kentucky office runs a successful social league here in Louisville. But, what a great entry point for new players or returning players, and it's a way for them to be part of a big league, and it's a great comfortable intro. And we haven't always been that as a sport.
Something you talked about in the kickoff yesterday, and you alluded to it earlier with the coaches, players, and courts. And I know that is we've got a lot of people across the state and elsewhere who listen to the podcast, and they might live in communities where they either don't have courts or they have courts that need work. And USTA and Southern has a lot of help for people, for communities that need access and need courts. Just talk about what's available out there in terms of facility grants.
Yeah, it is a great time. The USTA is really putting their money into this effort to help with new courts, refurbishing courts. We have a couple of different tracks, and one is tennis venue services. So the USTA just announced that they're going from a $1.7 million budget to a $10 million budget.
Oh, wow.
And so, and one of the things they want to do is really expedite the process to help people get money, to get support. USTA Southern and then our states all do matching when a facility has been awarded funds by the USTA. And then we also have a new, real exciting opportunity where USTA Southern and USTA are doing a pilot called an enhanced facility funding, and we both come to the table with $2.5 million for a $5 million pot of money that will help new projects that are kind of further along, that just kind of like need the extra support. So, that could be upwards of $500,000 for a facility. So, so we're hoping Kentucky has a couple of those that are
state
in the
office,
works.
Maddie especially does a great job of helping folks if they don't know. Maddie Henning is the person to go to, and she'll find whatever's out there, whether it's the state level, section level, or national level.
She's fantastic. Yep.
Matt Olson is the executive director of USTA Southern. It's a pleasure to meet you today, and I'm really glad you sat down with us. And very interesting stuff.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming to the Kentucky Tennis Weekend.
Yeah, thank you for making me feel so comfortable just to talk.
Are you coming to the awards?
I will be at the awards today, yes.
Well, let me apologize in advance.
Are you hosting?
We are.
Oh, well. Oh, actually, no, I need to know. Just kidding. No, that's even more exciting.
Plans just
Oh,
changed.
your flight is rescheduled.
Oh my God, I just got a notification.
Oh, yeah.
No. I think that's great. Good.
Game Set Match Kentucky is proud to partner with a very worthy cause called the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Born on America's darkest day of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. When a first responder or military service member doesn't return home, leaving behind young children, Tunnel to Towers steps in. The foundation pays off the family's mortgage, easing their financial burden during a difficult time. For catastrophically injured veterans and first responders, the foundation builds mortgage-free smart homes, empowering these heroes to navigate their living spaces with greater independence. Through its homeless veteran program, Tunnel to Towers provides housing and services to veterans in need. This initiative strives to eradicate veteran homelessness entirely. To date, Tunnel to Towers has helped more than 10,000 veterans receive assistance. Those who risk their lives for our country and communities need help now more than ever. Visit t2t.org to learn more about the full slate of programs and initiatives the foundation offers. That's T2T.org. Tunnel to Towers. Do good and never forget. Right now we are joined by our friend Dr. Mike Eden. Mike is the current Raise a Racquet Foundation board president. Let me get you to lean into that, Mike, just a little bit there before you start. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Kentucky Tennis Weekend. As always, it's great to see you.
Yeah, you all too. Thank you very much for having me.
Remember last year, I think is when your term ended as board president, right?
A couple
right?
of years ago.
And everyone was very sad to hear that, but I just had a feeling in the back of my mind that Mike Eden wasn't going anywhere. and here you are now as the Raise a Racquet president. And I think Raise a Racquet is still somewhat of an unknown entity in the state. So tell us tell us what the foundation is and why it's so important across the state.
Sure. Yeah. So Raise a Racquet is. Did you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Raise a Racquet is the Kentucky Tennis Foundation, and we raise funds for players, programs, and throughout the state of Kentucky. And we unfortunately are not well known. People aren't aware of us. In fact, we're always looking for people that are in need for potential scholarships. For instance, we have a lot of juniors that apply for assistance, and that could be for certain high-ranked juniors that are traveling. They need expenses for travel expenses. Could be some that are beginners that have contacted us and they're disadvantaged and they need help with equipment. We might purchase rackets for them, that sort of thing.
Or help with lessons, or help
and
with
lessons.
camps.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. We do that as well. And then also we've helped out with high school teams that have contacted us, and we've provided some equipment for high school teams as well, or uniforms in some situations. And then there's an exciting project that we have this year that Victor Alara from Pikeville, Victor has secured a grant from the USTA Southern, and up for $10,000, and then we have given $5,000 towards this effort to provide tennis coaches education throughout the state, and especially in rural areas where we have what we call tennis deserts, and there are very few courts or people that play, and we really need more people that can instruct players. And so we may pay for their USPTA or PTR certification courses. Those are expensive, as you know, but I think that'll be money well invested if we can get more people out coaching in these rural areas that are definitely deficient compared to the larger cities.
People may not know about Raise the Racquet, but they should, because Raise the Racquet's been very heavily involved in Kentucky Tennis Weekend, sponsors the Hall of Fame dinner last night, sponsors the middle school state tournament.
Correct.
In addition to the assistance that you offered, and we just talked with Matt and talking about this growth to try to get 35 million players by 2035. To me, to do that, we're going to have to reach populations that are maybe non-traditional tennis populations. We're going to have to expand who we're offering tennis to and who we're getting to play the game, and so you are going to have some people who tennis isn't the cheapest sport, whether it's lessons, whether it's the travel that you talked about. And so I think it's really important that people are aware of what Raise a Racquet can do. You got a great staff that is raising more money than the foundation has ever raised, and it's important for people to know the resources that are there.
Absolutely, yeah. And speaking of that, we've come a long way in the last few years. Rick Schaeferman, who has been the president the last 6 years, and he's done a wonderful job, and he's brought us from, I think we maybe had raised $10,000, and now this past year was almost $92,000 that we've raised, and I think that our goal this year is $100,000. I think we should be able to meet that.
Do you have any numbers on the auction from last night for Raise the Racquet?
Preliminary numbers, I think that we raised about $7,000 last night from the auction.
Great.
Yeah. It all depends on, actually, we won't know for sure because we have a U.S. Open package that is still available for bidding for today.
Oh, okay.
And so I think that was at $1,500 last night. So we'll see.
Chad, how much money have you got on you?
What do you need me to Venmo you some money?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
You ready to go to New York, are you?
Yeah. It's been a while. I haven't been to the U.S. Open since 2001. I was actually there like 8 days before the 9/11.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went on Labor Day weekend that year.
Mike is well known for what he's done in Kentucky with USTA, but really, if there's anything that Mike Eden is known for, is his vast collection of tennis memorabilia and artifacts. And
yes,
we've talked about it. We're hoping to get to your house sometime and do a podcast with all your collection.
That'd be awesome.
And we saw the news story that WKYT did last spring, I think it was.
Right.
They did a little package about your collection. Of course, they're under time constraints, and that whole segment was probably 2 or 3 minutes, right?
Right.
So they didn't get anywhere close to showing pictures of everything.
Touched the surface.
What's the most interesting thing that you have? Maybe not the most expensive item, but what do you think's the most interesting item?
Interesting to you,
right,
or interesting to other people. But
so tennis, lawn tennis, as we know it, was patented by a major in the British Army, Walter Wingfield, in 1874. And initially, what they did is they put the rackets and the balls, the net, everything you needed to go into a wooden box, a set for you to take out with you and set it up on your lawn.
Okay.
And so I was fortunate enough a few years ago to be the high bidder in an auction in London, somewhere in England, for a box from 1875.
Wow.
And so the original there's a lithograph on the back of this box, and it shows the original diagram for the court, which was not rectangular. It was an hourglass shape. So the court went in, out, like that. And to my knowledge, this particular lithograph that I have on that box is the only one I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
And then we know it's 1 year after tennis was patented. So that is the most unique thing and the highest museum quality item that I have.
How did it start? Did you have stuff that you collected and say, I think I might try to add to this, or did you consciously?
Yeah. How did it begin? How did the collection begin?
Well, that's a good question. So, as a child, I enjoyed collecting. I collected stamps and coins, and I always enjoyed history, and I liked learning about the artifacts and organizing them. And so, when I was in high school, I didn't start playing tennis. I'm from Elizabethtown, you may know, from E-Town, and I played baseball, and I switched over to tennis when I was in my sophomore year of high school. And I got tennis fever, as I call it, and I loved it, and I would play 8 hours a day in the summer down at the old University Drive courts. You've been there before. Yeah.
Speaking of misshaped tennis items.
Yeah, well, those are interesting courts. When I first started playing.
Uphill both ways.
That's right.
They're uphill to the net. So this may have brought about my baseline play because you didn't want to go to the net. It was
right.
It was uphill climb.
Yeah.
And on top of that, when I first started there, I don't know if you ever played on courts. The nets were chain link fence.
Oh, I played on that
I've
as a
heard
kid.
that.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess because of vandalism, they had problems, so they put those there. And of course, the problem with the chain link fence net is you can't really dip it down.
No,
so
it's the
well.
same height all the way across.
Yeah. So that made it interesting as well. But anyway, so I was at a garage sale back in high school, and I came across this metal tennis can that was it was a Slazenger made in South Africa, cost $0.25. I picked it up. I thought that was kind of neat because that was the time when they were transitioning, to plastic cans in the early '80s, and then I started picking up rackets at garage sales, and that's how it started. And when you come see it at my house, you'll think he's crazy.
Are you ever approached like with somebody trying to buy some of your items? Do you try to
absolutely.
sell them? Do you sell things, or do you?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
duplicate items
Yeah.
for the most part. Yeah.
Okay.
Because when you're a collector, you're always buy, sell, and trade. And so you're working out deals with other collectors, and then there's people that want to buy things that I don't really want to sell, and that's always kind of. But at some point, you have to let it go, and I don't know when that point's going to be. I know I did so I don't know, I may have told you this before. I helped start this national organization called the Tennis Collectors of America. Are you aware of that? So I was the chair of the organizing committee and the first president of the Tennis Collectors of America. It's a group that we founded in 2004. So last year was our 20th anniversary. And we have collectors. Most of our members are Americans, but we have people from all over the world that are members. And we promote tennis history. So there's a lot of people that are tennis historians that are members of it that don't collect so much, but they write. And we have a journal that we publish on American tennis history and American collectibles. And so I did an article, or actually I did a talk at one of our meetings because we have an annual meeting every year at historic tennis clubs around the country.
We got to go to that sometime.
Absolutely.
We got to. Yeah.
Well, this year our meeting is going to be in Cincinnati.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, so it'll be close by, and so we'll have speakers. In fact, I'm really excited because they're coming down to my house. The collectors are, and we're gonna have some of the seminars at my house.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
How neat.
in August, and it's going to be in conjunction with the Cincinnati Open tournament. But anyway, I gave this talk a few years ago about what do you do with your collection, because everybody has to decide at some point what to do with it. Well, there's three things you can do with it. You can sell it, you can give it away, or the most common thing that happens with most collectors is you do nothing. Then your children sell it or give it away.
Right.
Well, there were some vintage items up for bid last night at the auction, and
Yes.
again the proceeds benefit Raise Racquet, and just thank you and Amy and the rest of the staff for everything they do for the people in Kentucky who need it. And I know a lot of juniors that use it, and it doesn't have to be juniors. I mean, just people who care about the game, and the foundation can help them.
Absolutely. And so I appreciate you all publicizing this out in the state, and hopefully people who are listening to this will know someone, or it may be themselves, that are in need of assistance. They just need to reach out to us. They can go to our website and find information.
Mike Eden is with the Raise Racquet Foundation. It's great to have you here. Good to see you again, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. We're pleased to be joined now by R.C. Scheinler. He's the USTA Kentucky Board President, and thank you for joining us here.
I'm glad to be here.
You're halfway through a 2-year term, is that
is
right?
correct, yes.
Yeah. Can you believe it's already been a year?
It just seemed like yesterday I was sitting here talking in front of you two guys. Just like,
It does
seemed
seem
like it was last week.
It seems like it was last week. He's right about that.
It's a great weekend, though. I mean, it really is. It's a highlight for me in the year. I think it's a great way to kind of commemorate, the achievements of last year, but it's also a great springboard to the year ahead.
Oh, I completely agree. It's a neat family here in Kentucky. Everybody kind of knows each other. We're not the biggest state, but I think we have some of the best camaraderie and some of the best culture of any state in our region. But it's a fun. It goes by like, obviously, yesterday seemed like a long day, but now it's like, whoa, that went by like in 30 minutes.
Were you in Atlanta last weekend as well?
Yes, I was fortunate enough to be in the Southern board meetings. I'm the liaison for the board between the state presidents, so it's kind of I live in both worlds, the president's world, and then I get to see behind the curtain a little bit in the Southern board meetings.
Well, talk about what we've seen in Kentucky over the last year. We talked about the growth. Matt was talking about the growth, and certainly there's a big challenge from national in terms of 35 million players by 2035. But talk about some of the achievements and what we've seen here in the state in the sport of tennis over the last year.
Well, man, I love the state. I've lived here for 26 years. My kids are born and raised here. It's just been a phenomenal year last year for Kentucky tennis. The 35 for 35, it's an ambitious goal to have 10% of the U.S. population hitting a tennis ball, but it's only a 3% growth per year. And then I can't let the cat out of the bag unless someone went before me and said our section is over-indexing, and more importantly, our state on the metrics that we're measured by came in second for growth last year out of the 9 states. So Jason Miller and his team, man, I was just in the meeting with Maddie Henning. It's just everybody's out there pulling levers, trying things, and doing things. So yes, last year was a great year for tennis. The sport is growing. I think you'll see, we have a new logo for Southern. You'll see, we'll probably advertise it a little bit here in a couple months. But more importantly, the sport, unbeknownst to most people, it's on the move, it's on the grow. It's been doing it for a couple years. But we're looking really good right here, right now for that 35 for 35. And then in this state, and last year, our league play was exceptional. I believe every category is up except mixed, but I think we addressed that issue. We had 6 teams make nationals last year. 6 teams from a state of 4.1 million. That's in the hardest section. So you have to win on the local level, then you have to win on the state level, then you have to win on the section level to go to nationals. We had 6 teams go last year, and we couldn't think of the last time we had more than 3 or 4. So that was just nothing to do with me or Jason. That's more Kathy Klein, people playing, people getting out and playing. But again, then we had one team win nationals, and we're going to give them an award here in about 3 hours, which is neat. They like to hang their banners in their clubs. But also at the Southern meetings last week, they have an awards. They have 26 awards that they give out, and they like 300 or 400 people in the room, and all the recipients get to come in, standing ovation, clapping. And we had 5 winners. We've never had 5 winners before. All over the state. Everyone talks about diversity. We have geographic diversity where it's not just Louisville, not just Lexington. It was Owensboro, it was Paducah, and it was just neat. And then if I can brag on my fellow Kentuckians, is the speeches that these individuals had were just right on point. They were very articulate. They expressed their love for their state. They also talked about how they accomplished it and how it impacted them and how it impacted people. So, now participation's up. We're sending more teams to compete, and we've had again 5 winners. We've never had 5 winners before.
Somebody said earlier we were kind and didn't ask any tough questions, but I'll ask a tough one. So, what's the biggest challenge for our state and tennis in our state?
The challenges, I think the challenge is the grassroots level. Getting people that are in the communities that are doing good work, hard work. They're great. They're great for the sport. We got to engage with them, empower them. Because I be careful what I say here. I don't want funding to be an issue if somebody has an idea or wants to try something. So listen, there's great people in this city of Louisville that are carrying the banner, trying to get 35 for 35. But the innovation and the next great idea is somewhere out in the state. There's 120 counties in this state. Somebody out there is doing something that hasn't been thought of. They're going to try something new. They're going to get somebody to get off the sofa and out of behind, get away from the video game, get away from the TV, and get on a tennis court and play tennis. We don't want that's the biggest challenge, is just engaging people out in the communities and the grassroots level to come forward, start a program, or get people out there, whether it's a social piece or whether it's an exercise piece. That's our biggest challenge, is just engaging with those people.
Yeah, and I'll echo what you said. I mean, volunteers are certainly important at the grassroots level, and folks who volunteer to serve on the USTA board or serve on committees, they're very important. But to me, what really ties it together and what has been such a help to me at the various levels is the staff, and Jason and his staff deserve so much credit for trying to bring all those different partners together and to really assist people who care about tennis and care about growing it. And I think, Jason deserves a lot of credit just for the staff that he's put together and the way that they help people in the state grow the game.
Very enthusiastic staff.
Absolutely.
By the way, they're great to work with, definitely.
Yeah, I can brag on them. I know each one of them individually, and they are just. And I tell the people from Southern, don't take any of these people. Don't snatch anybody. Please don't do it. But yes, if you want, they are more than willing to answer that email, more than willing to answer that phone call, and try something different. We can grow it. It's like I have a unique perspective because. I get to see this awards banquet, and thanks to both of you guys for hosting it and emceeing it. I also get to sit on the Racquet Foundation for the last 6 years and see how it's been how it's transformed. But when you go out to other states, and again, we're a small state. Okay, we are. When you compare yourself to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and places like that. But guess what we do? We have a foundation that has money in it. Okay, we have a foundation that has a great board that's spending calories and it's on the move. Then you look at our board, the diversification of our board and what we have on it for the USTA Kentucky piece. Then you see what's going on here with the awards banquet. Not every state has this, okay? So when you sit there and you talk about being from Kentucky, living here, we got a lot to be proud of here. And I'll sit there and say it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the people that went before me, and I get to stand on the shoulders of giants. But it has Jason and his team and what they've accomplished, especially Jason Miller in the last 10 years. He gets a lot of respect at Southern, a lot of respect on the national level, but he's truly, him and his team, an exceptional group of people.
When your term ends a year from now, how do you see yourself involved or continuing to be involved in Kentucky tennis?
Well, and as Chad said, I love to volunteer. My kids are out of the house. If I hang around the house a little too much, my wife looks at me and goes, "What are you doing around the house?" So I need to get out. I sit on. I've been doing some committees on the Southern level. I'm going to stay on the Racquet till we hit some huge. I want to sit there till we have $1 million in the endowment, and we're raising 6 figures a year and growing tennis. So as long as they'll have me there, I'll stay there. And then you're in the board meeting yesterday, and I think I talked to it. There were 6 past presidents in the board meeting yesterday. Yep. So nobody has that. So just the wealth of knowledge of like Mike Eden and Leone and all the people that have come before me, they're still giving back to the sport. So whether it's financially supporting the programs, spending my personal time helping stuff, I'm not going to go away. As long as they'll have me, I'll stick around.
It's a great weekend. I can't say enough. If people involved in tennis haven't been here, there's something for everybody. There's a committee for everybody, and it's just hopefully we don't screw it up in the awards show later today.
It's the whole weekend is over in the blink of an eye, and yet it is exhausting in a great way.
Yeah.
So R.C. Schindler is the USTA Kentucky board president, and we're glad to have you here with us again.
Guys,
1 year after you were with us before.
appreciate all you do for the sport. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's great to have those guys with us. We really appreciate their time. Some very good stuff there. We could have talked to them all day long probably, but we've got to wrap it up, pack it up, and get to our award ceremony in just a few minutes. So that's going to serve out this episode of Game Set Match Kentucky. We'd like to thank everybody that listens to our program or watches it. This one's, of course, audio only, but the next time we'll be back, our ugly faces back on camera. You can watch us on Facebook or YouTube. You can subscribe to the audio with any major podcast app on your mobile device. You can also leave us a review and a 5-star rating. Give us a like on our Facebook page at Game Set Match KY, or just search for Game Set Match Kentucky, the podcast. We're also on Instagram at Game Set Match KY. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@GameSetMatchKY. You can follow us on X at GameSetMatchKY. Chad is on X at Chad Young Tennis, and I'm on X at Chris Godby. Thanks again to our sponsor, Vision Cabinet Source. They have that sound here. They have
Oh, wow.
They have it here, too.
It travels,
Wow.
too.
And it looks like, once again, Hawkeye says we are out. Until next time, I'm Chris Godby with Chad Young, and this has been Game Set Match Kentucky.